started my legal. I went to law school at Harvard Law School, and I started as a corporate lawyer. Practiced in New York, moved to Los Angeles, practiced in big law firms, Skadden Arps, and when I got here, I met a really wonderful lady. Her name is Debbie Allen, and I worked as a pro bono lawyer for her dance school, Debbie Allen Dance Academy, where I met amazing, young, talented people from all walks of life. But her school's in the middle of, it's like MLK and Crenshaw, so it's right in the middle of the neighborhood. And she did a great job of bringing the world's best dance instructors, ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, all different blends, and educating young people from across LA, but also particularly in the middle of the city. And I was really moved by that sense of community. I'm not much of a dancer at all. I am a musician. I do like to play music, and I started college as a woodwinds major. And so it was a great opportunity for me to give back and get reconnected with the arts, but also help kids that like me, maybe have grew up like me. And so in doing that and working with her in the school, I would help kids. We're in LA, so these kids were getting auditions at Disney and ABC, NBC, Nickelodeon, and I would help them with their agreements as part of my service to the school, and advise and counsel, and Debbie does a great job of bringing the entertainment community to embrace the young kids at her school. I was able to meet a lot of really amazing leaders, African American leaders of all colors actually, in entertainment. I learned a lot about the business. I learned about what they were doing, and over dinner and drinks and conversations, I started to, it's sort of like if you go to dinner with a doctor or a lawyer, you're going to ask a doctor a bunch of medical questions, even if that's not what they do. You just think to ask those, and then the lawyer's kind of the same way. Well, yeah, there's this case, or there's just this thing. What do you think? How would you do it? And so my business advisory work I was doing for Fortune 500 companies, I started doing the same advisory in the context of entertainment, but mostly informally. Like I remember being at Debbie's house and kind of sitting on her couch and talking, and I was at that point in my late 20s, and she asked me, she's like, "What do you really want to do, Walter?" And I've been training for I don't know how long to like really be kind of a corporate lawyer, and she said something to me that I'll never forget. She was like, "Our people need representation like you. We need the type of quality representation and what you're learning at the big place, what we needed with the people that look like you and I in this entertainment space." And so she was the one that she was my first client, my first entertainment client. When I opened my law firm, she was the only one. I just had her. She was gracious enough to talk to her friends, and for those guys to start to give me a little bit of work. And then she just introduced me to everyone that she knew, and that's how the practice. So I need to figure out how to find young talent early before they become bigger talent, and that was kind of my next kind of layer of business. So there was the traditional business I was getting from Debbie and her recommendation when people were like they wanted to try something different, and then it was like, how can I carve out my own path and niche? And so I was, I had a really great set of friends. One friend in particular who takes all the credit for it too. His name is Reggie Bush, and Reggie introduced me to Amber Rose. And at the time, before there was this term social influencers or YouTubers, or we thought about the business of these digital influencers and how that worked, and whether there was a business. People in the big law firms and the big agencies were very dismissive. Oh, these are just ex-girlfriends of famous people. These are, there wasn't a place. The Kardashians, although they were on television, they were still it was still about Kim and her sex tape. It wasn't about Kim and her billion-dollar empire at that point in time. And but those clients were very accessible to me because they were at the same places I was. They knew the same people I knew. They were going out the same places I was going to, and no one was taking them serious. So I built a nice business and practice around taking that community serious and adding the business to the entertainment that they were providing. And then as the technology got better and more, this is before Instagram, this is before Snapchat, like Facebook, you still had to have a college email to be on at the time. But that was has been my niche, and the short answer is yes. And the way I've built my practice, I have a policy that in my office where I will always take a meeting. It doesn't mean I have to be on that meeting very long or stay very long, because also I'm selling my time. But I remember first starting, I remember needing a shot. I remember sitting at that couch talking to Dev. I remember being in my little one-bedroom apartment as my law firm. And so, and I also remember my clients that have made me a lot of money that were making no money when they first found me. Social media has been incredible for that, for me. It allows people to reach out to me. I don't have millions of followers, so I could see a lot of the messages coming in and reach out to me and pitch me, talk to me, and engage with me. And I try to be engaging in that platform so that so I try to answer questions. My office is pretty good about someone getting back to them and setting it up a time for them to talk to someone in my office. So social media has been the way for me to get in here newer clients. I mean, a clip from Marshawn Lynch. He just gave his he came back from retirement and played the playoffs for Seattle, and he said he probably asked some of the same question, like what advice would you give to the young players, and he said, take care of your chicken, which was manage your money, and then take care of your chickens. And everyone thought I was like very clever, and it was colorful, and it's very Oakland, it's very Bay. And then he said, take care of your mentals. He also said take care of your body too, but I think those two things are also very important and something that we don't always talk about, right? Taking care of your chicken, really, like not overspending, staying within your budget, all those things matter, and it matters at every step, because I get a client at the very beginning when they have nothing, and they are very frugal because they have to be, and then they get their first check and they blow it. But the next check isn't always right behind it. You have to be able to, also you may want to be more discerning in the roles you take and what you put out. You may want to take your time. You don't want to have to be dependent on having to get a check in order to live, right? So it's about managing your money, and us talking about that, like, I don't know, my first check, I went to the Gucci store too. I'm not above that. I went and bought the Gucci store, Louis Vuitton. I share that with Kanye, but but I have to pare it down. I need to listen to people and say, hey, listen, here's how you manage, how you build it. If you want to build a firm, here's how you have to do it, and here's how you have to manage your lifestyle, manage the money. And then what no one talks about is your therapy, your mental, your personal mental health. And so I think people are talking about it in other communities. I mean, when I was growing up, we never talked about going and getting therapy, and I was like, only crazy people did that. One of the best investments I ever made was investing in going to a therapist, going and speaking to someone, thinking about working out the same way I work out, and it's important for me to eat healthy and to work out. I have to make sure I keep my mind sharp and healthy, because there's a lot of stuff going on, not just in the world, but the world of entertainment, if that's where you're trying to get to. Like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people taking you down. There's a lot of people coming for you, for challenging you. It's cutthroat. Almost any business is. And so being able to stay balanced, being able to not buy into, the misdirection, and buy into, whatever the life is, and really staying focused to what you want to get to, and to be able to overcome the setbacks that are eventually and inevitably will happen. That's important. You don't want go crazy essentially. And so how do you protect against that? How are you thinking about that? And start thinking about that at 20 and 30 and 40, and like not waiting until you're 50 and life's crazy. You need to kind of manage that all the way through. So that would kind of be my second step, is like, make sure you're going to make money. That's going to come. And make sure you take care of that, and then also make sure you take care of your mind, because that's how you got here. Like, so that's where the creativity comes from. That's where the business comes from. It comes from your mind. So as you work out and as you become vegan and all these other healthy things that you're going to do for your body, make sure you do the same things for your mentals.